Hey y'all, I'm Demi. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. So a while back, I started a series called Exposed, and my purpose for doing that initially was to tell you guys about different experiences I had had dating and experiences in my life that kind of brought me to where I am now, and kind of like what contrast that I had experienced that expanded me. What I'm about to tell you guys is going to affect my non-existent dating life. I can't believe I'm about to tell you this on the internet, but I believe that in sharing my own contrast and growth and lessons that I will be helping other people. So I'm going to do it anyway. Let's get into it. Get into it, yeah. Where do I start? When I was 20 years old, I studied abroad for the second time in Scotland, and I fell so madly in love for the first time in my life, to be honest, like really, really in love. I was walking down a street on the way home with a friend of mine, and we could hear our classmates singing karaoke at a local pub, and so we decided to walk in by serendipity. And as soon as I walked in, I made contact with this tall guy. He was staring right at me, and like staring at me so much so that I was like, God, why is he staring at me? But we kept making eye contact, and then eventually I had to walk past him to go to the bathroom, and he like tried to say something to me, but I ignored him because I was going to the bathroom. And I came back, and then they stopped me and started talking to me, and he immediately was asking for my number. And at the time, I was really in alignment with myself. I was really happy. I was really independent. I was traveling the world alone, and I wasn't really thinking about dating or men. I was just living, I was just really focused on my own life and my own happiness. And um, we ended up. He walked me back to the palace. I was living in a palace at the time, and we had like the most romantic kiss I've probably ever had in my entire life. And he was like, I'm gonna call you, like I just need to know you. And it was kind of a love at first sight thing. Like, I don't know, I never had that kind of connection and passion with somebody that I just met. But like I said, I was in a good vibration. I was in alignment. I wasn't really worried about it. So a day or two passed, and people were asking me, like people who had seen this happen were asking me like, what happened to him? Did he call you? And I was like, I think he's obsessed with me, so I know he's gonna call me, but he hasn't called me yet, and I'm not even thinking about it. Just, traveling the world. Just living in a palace in Scotland. And I didn't have a worry. I didn't have a fear. I didn't have a doubt. I just knew that this man was going to call me. And sure enough, he did. And actually, he had a girlfriend when I met him, and a serious one. He was living with her. He had been with her for 4 years. And within 3 days of meeting me, he broke up with her for me to date me. And at first, because he hadn't told me that right away, he told me that after he called me. I was like, well, that's kind of like quick, like that's kind of unhealthy. And so I gave it a while, and I was like, you really better know what you want, because I don't want something unhealthy. And he was really persistent. He just kept pursuing me, and he absolutely knew he wanted to be with me. And he took the action to make that really clear. So I remember we went on a pub crawl with a bunch of my friends, and he asked me out, and I was like, I don't know. I was like, maybe ask me again when I'm sober. I gotta think about it. And after that, he introduced me to his family, and then he asked me out again. And I was nervous. I didn't understand at the time how I probably was acting and like the vibration that I was giving off. But I was unsure whether I wanted to get into a relationship at first. And I think it was because I had a fear of being vulnerable and really allowing myself to really love somebody. Um, as you guys know from previous episodes, I grew up not knowing my dad, and so I didn't have close relationships with like any men. I had one relationship prior to that that was long term, but it was kind of like a high school relationship. Um, so I was hesitant. And it wasn't because I didn't have feelings for him. It was because I wasn't sure if I wanted to. I was like controlling my feelings and afraid to put myself in a vulnerable position. So anyway, I did end up saying yes, and we started dating, and he told me he was in love with me, and I was like, I'm in love with you too. And it was like so good for a while. And because I was kind of closed off, and even though I was definitely falling in love with this person, I was still kind of reluctant to share my whole self with him. I remember him being like so sweet and wonderful and always being like, "Are you okay?" And I'd be like, "Stop asking me if I'm okay." But it's such a British thing to do, is, "Are you okay? You okay?" I'd be like, "Just leave me alone." So anyway, fast forward, and I can't believe I'm about to tell you guys. This is how I knew this man loved me. Oh my God, he really did. I went out one night, and mind you, I am 20 years old, studying abroad, and in party mode. I was out with my boyfriend at the time and my friend and her boyfriend at the time. And our boyfriends gave us 40 pounds and told us to go buy whatever we wanted. And there were 1 pound shots at this club that we were at. We bought 20 shots each. And God, I don't know why we mixed every kind of alcohol, which as an adult now, because I'm going to say at 20 I was not an adult, I thought it was a good idea. It was not a good idea. So I was completely blackout drunk. This is honestly probably one of the only times that I've ever blacked out in my life. If you know me now, I like barely even drink, and I can't remember the last time I was actually drunk. But and normally when I do drink, I'm a good drunk. Like nothing like this has ever happened at any other point in my life ever. Never. So we had Indian food that night, and I apparently got home and was sick, and I didn't know that I had puked in this like unisex bathroom that had like a sheet in it. I don't know, because I was blackout drunk. I don't remember anything. And so then I'm just going to fast forward to the next day. The next day, my friends were coming. No. The next day, I woke up butt naked on my bed by myself. My boyfriend was on my roommate's bed, which they were not home. My roommate's bed across the room, clothed. And I was like, what is going on? Like, what happened last night? I don't remember anything, and I feel like I'm dying. And I'm like looking around the room, and I think like I must have puked, because there's like kind of like brown puke like on the edge of the bed, and I'm like, oh God, this is horrible. Like, what is going on? So I like go over and start cuddling with him, and I was like, what? What happened last night? And he's like, you were fucked up. So our friends start coming in, and they're like, oh hey, and they're like, it smells so bad in here. And I was like, I think I threw up. I don't know. I don't see it anywhere. And he's not saying anything. He's not saying like any, he's not telling me what happened. And then my friends are telling me like, oh, somebody threw up in this unisex bathroom and like we're gonna get in trouble. It's gonna be a dry house if we don't clean it up. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. Like, I wonder who did that. And I asked my boyfriend, like, did I do that? And he's like, no, you didn't do that. I was like, oh, crazy. Whoever did it, they better clean it up. Uh, so I can't remember exactly how he ended up telling me this, but he's like, you don't remember what happened last night? And I was like, nah, I don't remember anything. I don't even remember coming home. Like, nothing. I don't remember anything. I, I shit you not, I pooped in a garbage can in my bedroom. And this man cleaned it up. Oh my God, he cleaned it up and he said, I missed. Oh my God. And I went the entire day having no idea that this had happened, no clue. And everyone was like, oh, it smells so bad in here. And I was like, it's weird. So weird. Oh my God. All right, so I knew he was so in love with me. He would have done anything for me. And after that, obviously, we became a lot closer. Thank God that was not like the first time I had ever drank with him, so he knew that I was normally normal. Um, and yeah, our relationship was just like fairy tale, you know, it was honeymoon stage, and he introduced me to all of his family members, and they all loved me, and I felt like they were my family, like genuinely. Like his mom would cook and do our laundry, and like just the sweetest, like most loving family. Like, you know, I could tell that they genuinely liked me and cared about me, and you know, I got along with his sister, and it felt so right. Like his family was a lot like my family. His grandma was like super loving and would cook, and it was just so perfect. And eventually we had to start talking about how I have to go back to the States because I only had a student visa. And so we were like, well, what are we going to do? Like, I'm so in love with you. I can't picture being without you. But I know, like, we haven't been dating that long. And, you know, like, what are we going to do? And he was like, I want to marry you. I know that. Like, I'm sure about that. And I was sure too. I was so in love with this person. And I mean, there was one point where my time of month came late, and he was like, let's go get a test. And he drove me to the store and bought the test for me. And he was actually kind of disappointed when it was negative. And he was like, I would happily have your children. Like, I am so in love with you. He would always tell me how he could not wait to marry me, how he couldn't wait to have my children. I've never had somebody love me like this person loved me. So we started planning a wedding, and things seemed really good. But in the beginning of this relationship, when I was holding back because I was scared to be vulnerable, I was hurting him, and I didn't know that. And I was also still traveling around on my weekends and weeks off. I was traveling all over the world to Egypt and other places in England and Spain. And during that time, I was journaling, and this is an unhealthy habit, but I would flirt with lots of men, even if I knew I had one who wanted to be with me, because I was scared to get hurt. And I was always taught that if you keep a couple on the back burner, that at least you have a backup plan if that person that you really want to be with leaves you. So I had been journaling about all the hot guys that I was flirting with on these vacations while I was away from him. And after a while, I started spending all my time with him. So I quit journaling completely because I was actually madly in love with him and was no longer thinking about anybody else. And I had left on a trip and left my journal at his house, and he ended up reading the journal because he actually had some trust issues, because his dad had cheated on his mom, and so he was like super against cheating, had trust issues already, and I was, coming into the relationship with such reluctance to be vulnerable that I wasn't giving him my all. Um, at the time, I didn't recognize that I was doing that. I didn't recognize that that was a coping method to, you know, protect myself from getting hurt. But looking back, now I see that that's, what I was vibrating. And deep down, it came down to a fear of abandonment. And so he too, obviously, if you're vibrating fear of abandonment, you're going to attract somebody who's also vibrating that. So he too had that fear and had the trust issues. So he read the journal, shouldn't have. And I wasn't in a vulnerable state at that point. I was not knowing what I wanted and afraid to get hurt. And so he actually did not break up with me in person. He broke up with me after I got back to the States, and it crushed me. It absolutely broke my heart because that was the first person who I really, really fell in love with, and I really opened myself to. And it did take me some time, but I really did. And so after that, I was so afraid to love again. And so afraid to be vulnerable. And I would actually choose men who I believed were not good enough for me because I thought they wouldn't leave me if that's who I chose to be with. So at the time, like I said, I did not recognize how I was feeling. I did not recognize the actions I was taking, and I did not realize how it would play out. Now, everything happens for a reason, and I don't regret anything. I'm glad that I am who I am, where I am today. But that had such a big impact on me and my dating after that I think it is a story worth telling. If you want to attract true love, you have to be vulnerable. You have to love without fear. You have to put your energy into faith instead of fear and knowing that it's going to work out. Now, I had some things right. I was in alignment with myself when I went into this relationship, as far as I knew, and I hadn't been through enough relationship contrasts to realize that I was holding back from being vulnerable. But and so I was not worried about the relationship working out or does this person love me. I was sure that he loved me. So those things, you want to have that. You want to be sure, you want to be knowing, you want to be sure of yourself, and you want to be focused on your own happiness first, which is what I was doing at the time, and those things were all good. And so I did attract this really amazing relationship. But in holding on to that fear of abandonment, I lost it as well. And I wouldn't know what I know now if I hadn't experienced that. I wouldn't be where I am now if I hadn't experienced that. Every time that we go through a painful breakup, we learn more about what we don't want and what we do want so that we can manifest the relationship that we truly desire. So I really hope that this story helps you guys. And yeah, I mean, everything happens for a reason. This person has contacted me many times. It's been many years, obviously, at least 10 years now. And I think he regrets his decision a bit, but everything happens for a reason. And you have to go through the contrast to grow. You have to learn. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please comment below or like this video, or both. If you liked it, let me know, and I will keep sharing my stories with you. I love you, and I'm just gonna own this one because it's a terrible story to put on the internet, but you gotta be authentic, right? All right, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.